Good morning. Thank you for joining us today at Girl Scouts of Central California South for our SWAPSapalooza.
My name is Miss Mary. I'm from,
Girl Scouts of Central California South.
and my co-worker, Miss Natasha, is here helping me to produce today. Would you like to say good morning, Miss Natasha?
Good morning, girl.
And we're going to get started this morning with our Girl Scout promise and law. On my honor, I will try to serve God and my country, to help people of all times, and to live by the Girl Scout law. Girl Scout law. I will do my best to be honest and fair, friendly and helpful, considerate and caring, courageous and strong, and responsible for what I say and do, and to respect myself and others, respect authority, use resources wisely, make the world a better place, and be a sister to every Girl Scout. I hope you're ready to have some fun because
Today, we are going to do swaps. Now, swaps is one of my favorite things. If you take a look at the camera here, you can see all of my craft supplies that I have for doing swaps. Because my Girl Scout troop that my daughters have been in for the last 10 years love to do swaps. So the first thing I wanted to go over was what a swap is. So SWAP stands for Special Whatchamacallit, Affectionately Pinned Somewhere.
or something wacky affectionately pinned somewhere.
There's a lot of different versions you can find online, but usually it's special whatchamacallit, affectionately pinned somewhere. And it's not necessary to spend a lot of money on your swaps. In fact, the reason I have so many swap crafts is I save a lot of scraps that people would throw away to make my swaps. For instance, I have this pasta store in my kitchen, and I keep it by my recycling bin. And every time I throw away a bottle in the recycling, or a soda can, I'll pop the soda can tab off and throw it in there. I'll take the lid off the plastic, I'll throw it in there. If I'm opening a metal bottle, I'll throw it in there. And you see I've got bag tabs from the bread. The giant bag tabs are from like the bag of potatoes. So this is a really good thing to keep around. Stick it in a window, out of the way someplace, so you can collect all those little bitty fun things that make your swaps. And it doesn't cost you anything, and you're recycling and saving things from the landfills. So it's a good thing to do. My point being, swaps don't have to cost a lot. A lot of times around the world, the tradition of swapping things has been around since even before scouting has been around. Some people believe it was based on the Native American tradition of potlatch, which is they would like trade colored feathers or something pretty to their neighbors and friends when they would gather and meet together. And it's a sign of friendship. And in Girl Scouts, we started doing this in about 1950 at one of our big conventions, our big jamborees. And I was talking to our Girl Scout historian, and back then they had really, really pretty, really nice things that they traded, like real jewelry brooches or little items or patches, which, patches can sometimes cost you, $2 or $3 a piece. So if you're going to go to a camp and you going to go to a camp with 100 other girls, to get patches for all of those people to trade is quite expensive. So if you learn how to reuse and recycle all of your things, you can do that for a lot cheaper. So nowadays, the tradition is more to do something that's inexpensive so that you can mass produce them and share with everybody. But the point of swaps is not just to collect lots of stuff. The point of swaps is when you trade with your Girl Scout sister, you get to know them, you tell them your name, where are you from, and maybe you talk about your camp that you're at or your activity that you're at, and you get to know a friend. So each swap isn't just a cute little thing you can pin on your hat or on your swap holder. It represents your Girl Scout sister that you have made friends with. Things that are not recommended for swaps are things that have food. You'll see right here over my shoulder, I've got my Cheerios and my Fruit Loops. Well, There's sometimes that the swap is just too cute. You can't stand it. And I sometimes put food in my swaps. But I make sure that those swaps are very carefully taken care of and put in a safe place, because if you just store them in a closet someplace, it could attract bugs or rodents, and we don't want that. So also, big tip, my kids always pin their swaps to their Girl Scout vest, and they forget about it, and they throw it in the washing machine with all their swaps on it. I do not recommend that. They do not fare well. So now that I've kind of gone over the history just a little bit, I am going to go ahead and get into the organizers. I wanted to share one of my swap containers with you and to share it with your parents. But this is just a one of those photo albums things that you like store your photos in for like scrapbooking. But I love it for my swaps because I can take all of my things for like 10 or 20 swaps and put it right in there. And that way, when I'm getting ready to go to my Girl Scout meeting, I can just open it up, grab one or two of these things, stick it in my Girl Scout bag, and off I'm ready to go. But I've got a couple of these, and I use them for storage. And also, I'm going to use the box to hold up my computer so that you can see me at a better angle. This is another one of my very favorite organizers. I got this one at Joann's, and it has a container up top where I can put my scissors and my glue and my tape. Okay. This one has gotten a little messy because I've thrown things in on top of it. But I normally have my glue and my scissors and things up here. I took this with me when I was selling Girl Scout cookies this year, and I sat there and glued hundreds of pony beads on the end of a little piece of wood that's like the size of a matchstick. And that's my idea for marshmallow on a stick. And I haven't quite developed exactly how I'm going to make that, if I'm just going to leave it like this as a swap or add that to something else. The other cute idea with food is you can take a little piece of washcloth and clip it up into squares. And I looked everywhere, but Walmart was all out of Pez candy this morning. And putting a little piece of Pez candy on top of the washcloth, the Pez candy looks exactly like a bar of soap. You can put a pin on that, and all you need is the bar of soap and your pin. And that's one of my favorite ones. And I've looked for little pieces of fun foam. To me, the fun foam just does not look the same. The Pez to me looks the best. But again, that's a piece of food, so you want to keep an eye on that. You'll see I've kind of thrown a whole bunch of my swaps in here from some of my last activities. But another thing is, whenever you buy your safety pins, you can buy your safety pins that just come in a bag like this. But I prefer to buy the safety pins. They're just a little bit more, but I get this little storage tin that I can keep my safety pins in, and then that stays neater in here. And then I can use them like this. And so it keeps everything more organized. Here's another glue. Oh, the other thing I was going to show you about the storage container that I really like is you open up this tray, and then it has, I have all my pins and my tags. Usually I'll fill this with a bunch of things to make one swap. And it's another one of those things where you can have your swaps ready to go, all set up in a tray, and you can just take it out and you're ready to run with it. So the only thing that limits your swaps is your imagination. But to keep something like this handy is a really handy thing if you're a troop leader, because it keeps you more organized. And if you need a filler, if you have that in your closet, you can say, well, girls, we're done, 10 or 15 minutes early today in class. Let's do some swaps for 5 minutes. So if you're going to be doing swaps, you're going to want to have big gallon-sized baggies to hand out to each girl. After their swaps are dried, they can store their swaps in a gallon-sized baggie and keep it ready for the next time they go to camp or go to, you know, another Girl Scout activity. They have this cute little swaps bag that I found. Let me see. There, nope, am I going the wrong direction? There it goes. I found that on GSUSA's store in the clearance aisle. It's really tiny. It's, well, it's not too tiny. It's about half the size of a gallon bag, but it's a good thing. And my girls like to collect their swaps in. So I'll show you some of the swaps that my girls have gotten at different activities. These are not necessarily the ones that we're going to do today, but it just gives you an idea of some of the things that you have. Like this is one they got from World Thinking Day. It's from the country of Tonga, and it tells a little bit about it and has, those are probably the colors of the flag. Of course, everybody loves the s'more swaps that you can use. This shows you how you can use a little tag, and you usually put your name on one side and your troop on the other side. Sometimes you can put on here what the activity is that day. And this is one of the swaps I was going to show you today. It's just made out of fun foam. So here's another s'more swap somebody used. This is like, oh, you know what this is? This is a cosmetic brush. This is a little wedge of cosmetic brush. That's interesting. I never noticed that before. And then they just use felt instead of fun foam. Some people use cutouts. This is one that is from another troop that they was probably a World Thinking Day for Mexico because of the cactus and the colors. And so all of these, yeah, these are their World Thinking Day swaps. I can tell that because we're getting a theme going on here. So I could show you all the little swaps and spend all the time. Oh, this is so cute. They wrapped up foil as a little croissant. Not foil, felt. They wrapped up felt as a little croissant and colored it with a yellow marker to look at like it's butter. So there's all kinds of swaps. I'm going to go ahead and put these back in my daughter's storage bag. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. So the first swap we have today, and I'll go over all my fun swap tools as we go along and use them. Okay, so the first swap I was going to share with you today is one of my favorites, the Shrinky Dinks, and how I use that in my troop. So this is an embossing tool or a heat gun, and I got this at Hobby Lobby, I'm pretty sure. But you can get it at a lot of different craft stores. You can buy this Shrinky Dink paper. This is actually inkjet Shrinky Dinks. So you can stick this right in your computer and print it out on your computer. You can see they printed a little map here. That would make a good swap. You can print all kinds of different things to make swaps on your Shrinky Dink paper. So there's the Shrinky Dink paper that is printed out that you could put in your computer, how they printed out a little map. I also like these kits that come with themes and everything's pre-cut out. It has everything in it. They're about 10 bucks. It makes a great project for your troop. And this is one I started last night because coloring in the Shrinky Dinks for me takes the longest. But this is not set up for swaps necessarily. It's set up to be a little play set. So the way I turned it into a swap is before I colored it, and sometimes even after I colored it, I would take my hole puncher and I would punch a hole wherever I wanted to have the hole in my swaps. So you can see this one is the same as this one. So if I take my heat gun and I turn this on, I'm going to have my daughter color this swap later for me. But what you can do is you can use a little piece of cork. This is just a little piece of cork I got at the craft store. And I turn on my heat gun, and the heat gun is a little noisy, but it works really fast. Try to turn that so you can see it a little better.
I like to use the embossing tool, especially for the younger levels of Girl Scouts, because it's a lot easier for them to do by themselves, and you're not dealing with really hot cookie sheets that you're taking in and out of the oven. Now, I have also tried the Easy Bake Oven, and Girl Scouts even makes an Easy Bake Oven, and slipped my Shrinky Dinks in the Easy Bake Oven tray and slipped them into the Easy Bake Oven. And that works really well too. You just have to be careful and not use too big of a Shrinky Dink because it might curl up inside and get stuck. Like I think this fairy that I'm working on right now might have been too big for the Easy Bake Oven because it could curl up inside and touch the light bulb in there, and then it won't come out. So again, the embossing tool is the tool I find is the much easier tool to use when you're dealing with brownies and brownies through juniors. Of course, they will need adult supervision. They still can burn themselves on this if they decide to point it at themselves or someone else, but it's very convenient.
That's about all. And you can see it shrinks really fast. This is how big it was, and that's how big it ends up to be. And the colors intensify a lot when you shrink it. Most of them come with just these little pencils, and you can color it in with pencils. You can color it in with Sharpie markers, and those Shrinky Dinks work really well. And then all you need to do once you've done your Shrinky Dink part is put on your pin, put on your tag, and then stick it inside
your Ziploc baggie.
Let me go ahead and get my pins out. Again, this is what I don't like about these in a bag is I don't have something to dump these all into. So I usually find these in the clearance aisle. Now I've got something to store those in. So you can take beads. If you have a bunch of beads, you could put a bead on, and then you could put on your thing and your Shrinky Dink and then put on another bead. So that hole punch, I don't know if you can see how teeny tiny that hole is. It's hard to see, but the hole gets really teeny tiny, even though the hole punch looks really big when you started it. So those are my Shrinky Dinks that I like to do. And one of the things I was going to show you, even the box that the Shrinky Dink comes in, I don't even throw all that away. I go ahead and anything on that box that I thought would make a cute picture, I went ahead and just cut them all out on the front and the back. And then I'll take my teeny tiny fine scissors and I'll cut those out. And I'll keep those and stick a pin in it. And it is a good thing to occupy kids if you're on a long car ride. You can find really tiny scissors like this that are good for detail work. And those will get you more swaps for your buck. This Shrinky Dink kit costs about $5 at Joann's, which if you count how many Shrinky Dinks, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I got 12 Shrinky Dinks for $5, which is a little bit expensive. But if I count all the extra pieces I got from cutting out the pictures on the cardboard, I just doubled the number of swaps I got for my $5. And like I said, I cut them out, I store them all in my little storage, and then I throw the rest of the cardboard away. So some people get a little crazy with all their swap supplies. I must admit, I am crazy with my swap supplies. I keep all kinds of things to make crafts with. So that's my shrinky dink idea. One thing I just found on Amazon are these little silicone things. Now you could use these with your shrinky dinks if you think you need it, but I got them to show you with when I use my hot glue gun later. But they're just like little silicone things to cover your fingers so that you don't burn yourself when you're using your hot glue gun. So you can use those also when you're using your shrinky dinks. The next thing I'm going to go over is like the tags. So you can have your tags from all sorts of different things. So I found some paper cutouts, these paper punches that were left over from a project. I had to cut out the paper punch for the rest of the page. So I just have all these leftover paper punches. I can use those as my tags. I like to get these from Office Max. They have these tags. You can usually get them in a big bag, a big box of like 100 or 150 for $2 or $3. And those make really excellent things. I usually shorten the cord, or I'll just take the cord off entirely. I do not throw the cords away because I make them into little knot tying swap kits with my baggies, and I'm going to show that to you later. And my troop loves to play with chenille stems. So this last October, I had a bunch of pink chenille stems in my Girl Scout closet, and I gave them to the girls to play with. This is one they were playing with. But we made swaps out of them because October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So the easiest swap we came up with just off the top of our head is
breast cancer awareness ribbons.
I liked it when I took a metallic fuzzy chenille and a pink fuzzy chenille and twisted them together. And then I know you've seen the little pink ribbons they do for breast cancer awareness. We just crossed that over like that and gave it one little twist. And then that was our breast cancer awareness swap. So it doesn't take a lot. It just takes a little imagination. This one looks a little sad because, like I said, it's been played with. But chenille stems make really good creative swaps. Okay, so the next swap I was going to show you is the Mexican flower paper swap. Here's my tissue paper. And I'm going to get my big drawer full of chenille stems here. I'm going to pull out a couple of green ones because I like green to be for my flowers. If you have your supplies ready and you want to try the flower, you just get 2 pages of the white and stack that on top of my purple, and then 2 pages of the pink and stack that on top of my purple, and then I'll lay it back down here. Move my pencil box so I have a little more room to work. So I'll layer my tissues one on top of the other. And then I'm going to go ahead and fold it over. And I'm going to cut that in half, right down the middle. So as a troop leader, I never do anything one at a time. I am always thinking, how can I do, a whole bunch of swaps at once? So if you don't have a whole bunch of girls to consider, you don't have to cut all of these out at once. You can just cut out the size and shape that you need. So then what I'm going to do is fold it over again. and cut through again. Oh, my scissors were catching a little bit. Maybe if I hold my fingers inside there, that'll help. That's the thing with tissue paper. It's a little, you have to be careful with it. Maybe I should leave it open to cut it. Yeah, because I missed this layer. That's why it was catching. That's the other fun thing about live video is you get to see all the blooper reels live. I'm going to set this one aside and cut it up later. So you can use the wide ones. And these ones got a little bit tiny, but that's okay because I'm just going to let it be a little bit tiny on the inside and wide on the outside. So I just need, so you can tell that these are skinnier than those. So this will end up being a smaller flower than these. But all you're going to do is take one stack, and I probably don't even need this whole long strip, so I can even cut it in half like this. If you wanted it to be super, super fluffy, you could try the whole long strip, but this is probably going to do me just fine. So then once you get there, then you just start accordion folding it back and forth. And you make tiny little folds. Just like that. The tinier you can make your folds, the more ruffles you will have. The wider you make your folds, you won't have as many ruffles. So it's up to you how skinny you want those to be. I'm making mine a little bit wide just for speed. If I made them half that size, it would take me twice as long to fold this. So now what I'm going to do is take my chenille stem and I'm going to wrap it right around the middle. Actually, I'm going to trim off this edge. I was thinking that scallop edge might look pretty, but because I'm doing such tiny flowers, if I were doing big flowers, that scallop edge would make a pretty edge. But for such tiny flowers, I don't think that that scallop is small enough to really make a good difference. And so what I do is I kind of fold it over a little bit like that. And I try to make my tail as short as I can, but still have enough so that I can twist it around about 2 or 3 times, just like that. And then since all of these are different sizes, you can leave it like that if you want your flower to be different sizes. If you want to, you can trim it all off, like maybe at a point or something, or you can make a scallop edge. I'm going to try making mine as a diamond kind of shape on this one. So now I have all kinds of scraps. I'm sure I'll find something to save that for. So then what you do is you start opening up your flower. I wanted the pink to be on the inside. So you start on one end and you very carefully lift it up from the other side. And again, I've grabbed both of my pink layers. And see, I didn't open that up and it started to tear a little bit. So you want to kind of open your layers as you pull them apart, because this tissue paper is very fragile. And so the trick to these flowers is having the patience to sit here and fluff up your tissue paper layers. And I think that's why my tissue paper flowers don't come out as pretty as some of my friends, because I like to do things fast and quick. And so I don't think I take enough time to fluff up my flowers. So that's how they look, all pretty and fluffy. So it would take me a long time to get them that fluffy. But if you have the time, it's a good thing to do on a car ride or someplace when you're stuck sitting for a long time. And you can just sit there and play with your tissue paper rolls. And then once you have it all fluffed up, like I said, there's my pink layer. Next, I'm going to work on my white layer. Then you can take your chenille stem, and if you cut it a little bit longer than what you would want it to be for like just a flower, then what you can do is you fold it short, and then you fold it back down, and then it looks like you've got a leaf too. So then you just take a pin. Oh dear. This is the problem with the photo things. The clasps don't always hold tight, and I just spilled all of my pins out on my table. So I would suggest a storage thing that clamps is better for your safety pins. So then you can just put on your safety pin through part of the tissue paper. You can take a name tag. I like to use Sharpie markers to write my name tags with. You can get Sharpie markers of all different colors. I like to just use simple black most of the time. And so what you do on your tags, like I said, my girls' troop is troop number 2825. I usually put on the date, which is July 7th, 2020. And then I usually put on the name of the event that we are at or going to. And then, like I said, I usually just clip the string off, and I'll save that for my knot tying kit swaps. And then I usually just slip it on just like that. And then that swap is done. And I put it in my Ziploc baggie, ready to go to camp. Okay, so these things I really like. These are the Post-it notes page markers. And what I like about them is that they're the perfect size to make these tags for my swaps. These really tiny, skinny ones work for the really tiny safety pins. You just take off the tiny thing, and actually it's not the right size for that paper. You take, I always do it on the side away from the pin, because I don't like it when the swap and the pin is on the same part, and then it makes it really difficult to pin it onto your vest or whatever you're pinning it on. So I like, if I can at all possible, to make my swaps on this other side. And so if I attach my page marker, I can leave it long like that. I could fold it all the way in half and make it short like that. Because these are just Post-it notes, and if you think they're going to come apart, you can take a little strip of glue and put right on that. Oops, that really wanted to come out fast. So I'm going to take it and just fold it over. And that way I've got my tag right here. And then, like, if I had a swap or something, so if I had a swap that needed a pin, I just kind of like glue that onto the tag. And that way my swap is held loose, and then my pin is free to put onto my vest or hat or lanyard or whatever you collect your swaps in. So that's one little trick that I like to use. Then the next swap we're going to work on is one of my favorites. It's called the pet rock. Pet rocks are something that have been around ever since I was your age. And my daughters, I showed them this idea and they just fell in love with it. So what I like to use for the pet rock swap, I like to use, instead of safety pins, I like to use these jewelry brooch clasps. And you can get them in a giant package, and it has these holes. The holes help the glue stick. So you'll see the glue come through those holes, and that's a good thing because it'll help your glue stick really well. So because the glue takes a little while to dry, I always have a tray like this around to put all my swaps in while they're drying. You can see it has bits of glue here. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my Sharpie marker, and I'm going to figure out where I want my Google eyes to go. This side of this rock is pretty flat. Bring it down a little closer. So here's the flat side. So that's the side I'm going to put my brooch pin on. So I'm going to kind of give myself an idea where I want my eyes to go. And then I'm going to draw a cute little mouth. And I really want my mouth to show. This time I'm just going to do a smiley face. Now for rocks and glass, you're really going to need a glue like something like A6000. It really works the best when you're using non-porous materials like glass or rocks. Non-porous means it doesn't have those microscopic holes. When it has those microscopic holes like paper or wood has, that allows the glue to catch on it. So I've got these tiny little eyes. You can find even tinier eyes. But sometimes, and I don't know if you can see these eyes. These are ones I found that are super cute. They have a little eyelash. They have eyelashes on the eye. It's hard to get the camera to focus sometimes, but they're really cute because you can really see the eyelashes. Now, if your glue is messy, you can see how it's kind of going out in a pile there, and you have some inexpensive brushes. This glue, as long as you clean it out of your brushes quickly, is okay. You can wash it out. There's other types of glues that can't. So rather than using my whole thing of glue, I'll just use a tiny little paintbrush to grab some glue, and that way I can be more precise about my glue and I don't get it all over my fingers. And then, well, I just put it all over my fingers because it stuck to my finger. So let's get a good glob of that going, and then stick down my eyeball right there. So I don't know if you can see these, but the little eye thing inside moves. So it can look like your eyes are closed, and then it rolls back down, and then your eyeballs come back and you can see them again. So I saw these and I really like these. I can't remember if I ordered them on Amazon or if I found them in the store, but you can find some really cute eyeballs out there. Like I said, I've got a whole box of eyeballs I'm going to show you next, because there's some eyeballs I'll see in the clearance aisle and I'll have them for a long time until I could figure out what I wanted to do with them. And I finally figured out one thing I'm going to do with these giant eyeballs. So then you just glue your brooch backing onto the back. Make sure you're looking at your brooch to make sure. I always open my clasp so I could tell which side is up and which side is down. You want the open part to go to the bottom of your brooch. So there's the mouth, that's the bottom. So that's how I need it to go. So this is going to be really sticky for a while. I normally do not glue both sides at the same time. Normally I'll take the time to let those eyeballs dry up and then I'll flip it over on the back to glue on the brooch. But I just did that today to show you how I finished that. So like I said, I've got those cute little eyeballs. Now that I've opened that package, I'm gonna find a container to keep them stored in. And I'll share with you some of the other fun eyeballs I found out there. There, you can get lots of ideas just from the things you can find in the aisles at your craft supply store. In fact, sometimes when I'm stuck for an idea on a swap and I don't know what I want to make for something, I just start walking around the craft store aisles and then I'll get inspiration based on the craft supplies I can find there. And I'll show you one of my really great Christmas swaps that I came up with just that way. Me and my co-leader went to to Hobby Lobby, and we had no idea what we wanted to do for Christmas. I knew we wanted to do a little Christmas tree, but we didn't know how we wanted to do it. So I'll show you that a little bit later. I'm going to try to clean up my space a little bit. And then I even go so far as all these little cardboards that come on my craft supplies. My family thinks I'm crazy, but I will even save these and I'll cut them up like this into little tags. And now I've got 8 more tags to tie onto my swaps. And I didn't even have to pay for them. I just saved them out of the garbage. And those are a lot cheaper than buying cardstock. You can buy cardstock to print on. This is one of my big, giant googly eyes I found in the clearance aisle after Halloween one year. It's even a glow-in-the-dark googly eye. And I love them because they're so giant. And I'm going to use them on my swap storage thing. I've just realized today that that's one of the things I'm going to use them for. I found 2 of them, and I'm going to use one of them today on my swap storage banner that I'm going to show you later. So these are a lot of the fun eyeballs that I've found. I don't know if you can see this one. They have eyelashes too, but the eyeball color has different colors. There's red and blue and green. Here's another case that I found. I had the case left over from some seed beads, and I wanted to sort all these into different colors. So I was ready to go. So I repurposed this seed bead storage container. You can get really tiny ones. You can get really big ones. You can get some crazy monster Google eyes. One of the things I think is fun are these eyeball stickers. Now, the stickers are made to go on paper or cardboard. They aren't necessarily made to go on the craft sticks or felt or rocks. So some things the adhesive will work for, and you can just use the sticky back on them and it'll work for your swap. Some things you'll need to reinforce that with a little bit of extra glue and make sure that adhesive sticks. You can even use these sticker rolls. These are some solid color eyeballs. So those are all the eyes. Here's another one I found that really looks interesting. So I like to have a variety of eyeballs around so that I can use my inspiration as to what I want to make. And this roll of eyeballs. So yeah, I have used this before. So that you just have some sticker eyeballs you can put on things, and they're all different shapes and sizes. So if you find them in the clearance aisle, you can always just grab it and stick it in your swap bag. Those look like emoji, kind of the eyeballs that people like now. So you can get all kinds of ideas from the craft supplies you've got. So we've done our shrinky dinks, we've done our flowers, we've done our rocks. The next one I was going to show you is the Girl Scout Law Swap, and it's this one right here. So you can see you just print out a card that says the Girl Scout Law. The blue bead stands for the Girl Scout Promise. The light blue says honest and fair. Yellow is friendly and helpful. Green is considerate and caring. And what they did is they just took a length of ribbon, and you can see they tied a knot around the hole of the safety pin, and then they laced the ribbon through both sides of the first pony bead, and then they laced the ribbon through both opposite sides of the next pony bead, and on, lacing it through the opposite sides, the same order as what's printed on your card. And then they put a little pretty star with a knot at the bottom to tie off that. And you can find them online. I apologize that my printer didn't work and I could not print out the card to show you that Promise and Law pin today, but that is one of the ways you can do it. Like I said, I like to use Ziploc baggies to keep my pieces organized. So I'm going to put all of my little page markers. And sometimes the reason I have these here is I took this bigger, fatter piece of Post-it notes, and I didn't use the whole thing. I actually just cut it in half. You can see I cut it right in half. And I used half of the tags for one of my swaps. And then I left all the sticky tags on this pile. So apparently I didn't want to have stickiness on this set of tags that I cut off. So I'm all into figuring out how you can reuse and recycle and get two things out of one if you can. Because I have twin girls that are in Girl Scouts. So everything I buy, I need to have two of. I'm just going to show you something. As this dries, you kind of have to keep an eye on it, because I noticed that my brooch pin started to slip on my pet rock. So as they dry, just keep an eye on it. Make sure your eyeballs haven't moved anywhere you don't want them to be. And it will dry clear, so that white spot you won't see in a little while. So just check up on your rocks as they're drying. I want to show you another chenille stem swap, but this is one that was taught to me by a really amazing swap teacher, and she collects all of these cupcake papers. I don't know if you've noticed, whenever you make cupcakes, there's always one or two papers left over when you've made all your cupcakes. So I just save those in a Ziploc baggie, and I like the cupcake papers that are all colorful, and you just zigzag those like this. And then you need a second one. And if you have those tiny cupcake papers, that is easier. But if you don't have a tiny cupcake paper, you can just take your cupcake paper and fold it in quarters, and then fold it in eighths, and then fold it in 16ths. If you can get a 30-second fold in there, you can do that too. And then you just trim off a little bit to make a smaller circle. So now I've got a smaller cupcake paper, and I'm going to zigzag that. accordion, fold it, zigzag, whatever you want to call it. What you're going to do now is you take your chenille stem and you just cut it in half. You can use black, you can use green, you can use whatever color you want it to be. And I cut it in half, and then I fold it in half again. And then what I like to do, because I like my butterflies to have a little bit of a tail, I'll just twist off the bottom to leave a little bit of a tail. And then I put on the short layer first, right in the middle. And you kind of, again, you kind of fold it in half so that it is like in a V. I don't know if you can see that. I fold it in half. It kind of locks all those folds together. And then I put on the big one. And once I get those both into my chenille, try to make sure they're centered. Then I'll twist it off again. And then what I'm going to do is open up my zigzags. Make sure your paper doesn't twist. Oops, I just tore it a little bit. That's what I get for trying to go too quickly. You can get some tape and just tape that back up. I've got a little bit of glue left over here that's drying. I'm just going to stick some glue on it. It'll be fine. So you fluff that up, and then I like to take the little antenna of my butterflies and make them a little coily like that. Make that glue stick. You know what? I know what I'll do. I'll make that glue stick by putting a pin through it. I'll pin those two broken pieces together with the glue so I'll know they'll stay together. There we go. Now, what I do sometimes is I will make a whole bunch of swaps and I won't put a card on it. I'll just have it in my swap bag ready to go. I'll do them when I'm on long car rides. I'll do them when I'm watching something on television that I'm not all that, you know, excited about, and I'll sit and I'll do craft projects while I'm watching TV. And then I'll just put the pin on it and I'll put it away in my Ziploc baggie and put that away ready for camp. So you can get these baggie swaps, these reclosable baggies at the craft store. I actually saw them in the clearance aisle at Walmart one day, so I grabbed a whole bunch while they were on clearance. And we have a whole bunch of swaps we can make out of the baggies. So one of the cute ones I saw, I'm going to show you the Fruit Loops and Cheerios ones. Here's a bunch of ideas to use for your swaps in a bag. This says Instant Snowman, just add water. And so you can see it's got a little top hat and a carrot and some eyeballs and these little crystals. These are the friendship jewels. So it has the perler beads. Instead of using pony beads for the promise-in-law, they use those tiny little perler beads that you melt together with an iron. This is one that has like little green sparkles, and you can't read this because it's really tiny, but it's, I've seen things like, you know, Girl Scout Fairy Dust or Girl Scouts Bleed Green. This is one I like, a s'mores kit. This was one I see a lot of times people will put sand and itty bitty tiny seashells. I just can't seem to find those itty bitty tiny seashells in any of my craft stores where I live. And so I didn't order them online. So I haven't tried this one yet. If any of you have tried it, maybe you can let us know how it works. And they just stuck a little crab cutout or a crab sticker in the pocket. So the one thing I am going to show you and make with you is my kids just had their birthday party. They had water balloons. They had this leftover pack of water balloons. You see some of them broke. That doesn't matter because I'm going to recycle them. So I'm going to pull all these water balloons off these sticks. And I don't need all of them. I'm just going to use one or two just to show you. So, and I don't need that little twist tie rubber band on the end either. So I just want it to look like a little balloon. And I need to see the end of it look fluffy. So that's why I took the rubber band off. So I can save those rubber bands for my, oh, I guess it's not a regular rubber band, is it? It's just a circle. Maybe I'll figure out some way to use that as a bead. So this is one that I really like and I really think is cute. This is one that the label makes the whole thing look cute. So all you do is you take a little Ziploc baggie and you take a little balloon. I'm going to use a different color than my label here. And you stick that little water balloon in the baggie like this. And you seal it up. I'm going to take my sticky note and I'm going to stick it over like that. And cut off the extra. And I'm going to use a little bit of this glue to seal it up. And who can guess what this is? Does anybody know what this is going to be? Have you seen this one before? It's an emergency camp blow dryer. So if you need to blow dry your hair and you're at camp, here's your emergency camp blow dryer. You just fill it up with air, point it at your head, and you've got your emergency camp blow dryer. So that was one of my favorite little swaps I like. Because, you know, even though we're Girl Scouts and even though we go camping, sometimes girls camp with their blow dryers and their curling irons and their makeup bag. So that's not a bad thing. You can still be a girly girl and go camping. One thing I want to show you is whenever we do crafts for our Girl Scout troop, we always have a few extras left over at the end. And I have these leftover trick-or-treat bags that were from trick-or-treat. And so those were a trick-or-treat swap, but it would make, or it was part of a craft, but it would make a really cute swap. So if you're, you know, doing your Christmas craft, doing your Halloween craft, and you have a few extras, just throw that in your swaps kit for, you know, a rainy day, an extra 5 minutes at the end of your Girl Scout meeting. I don't know how I would tie these ribbons in with that as a swap. I think that's fine just the way it is. So maybe I would save those ribbons for another thing. The next swap I'm going to show you is one that I just figured out from my brain. I was going through the bag of fabric that was at our Girl Scout office. And you know how you can get those squares of fabric from the upholstery store or the furniture store where they have extra fabric samples. Well, there was this really cool sample that to me sort of looked like, and it was soft and velvety. It sort of looked to me like those, the silk rugs, the knotted rugs. And I thought, oh, well, that would make a really cool flying carpet, like Aladdin's lamp flying carpet. And I thought, well, I'm going to need some tiny little fringes to put on the end of my flying carpet. So I took the whole square of fabric and I cut it up into little rectangles. And then I looked and I could not find fringe tiny enough. So what I ended up doing is I had to take fringe like this. And you know, when you cut this fringe apart, then you take off this edge and then it's all fringy. Well, I didn't want that to happen. So what I did is I took my glue and I ran a bead down one side of the glue that would normally come apart. And then I ran another bead down this side of the glue, because normally this kind of fringe you sew, and so the stitches keep it all together, but I wasn't going to sew this. So I knew the stitches would not keep the ends together. Right now this is being held together here because it's taped together. So what I did is I put a bead of glue on this side, I put a bead of glue on that side, and then I let that dry. And once that was dry, then I took my scissors and I cut my whole thing of fringe right down the middle. So now I have two lengths of fringe that are nice and tiny and just the perfect size for my carpet. So sometimes if you can't find the supplies you're looking for, you could figure out how to create it. And then I was thinking to myself, okay, well, it kind of looks like a carpet with fringe, but how are people really going to know what this is? Are they really going to know this is a magic carpet? What makes a magic carpet a magic carpet? And then I thought to myself, the magic lamp. All the magic carpets you see, if I put a magic lamp on this carpet, I know people would get the idea. So what I did is I found a little outline of a magic lamp, and I found some glittery fun foam, and I drew a whole bunch of magic lamps on the back. And I like to make swap kits in like a quantity of 15. So if you count, this is 15 magic lamps on this one piece of fun foam. I'm going to put it in my Ziploc baggie, and I'll show you my swap kits in a little bit. But so then I figured, okay, I'm going to take my magic lamp and I'm going to glue that onto my magic carpet. And now you can really tell that that's a magic carpet instead of just a towel or a rag or something. Now it really looks like Aladdin's magic carpet because it's got the magic lamp on it. So, like I said, sometimes you can find your inspiration just in the supplies you have around you. Last one, the pom-poms are some of the things that I really like. And this is just a cute little pom-pom spider that I found, a fuzzy pom-pom and a black pom-pom, and I put some jewels on it. And then these are the really skinny, fuzzy chenille legs. And so they just put a metal on the bottom of it to hold it together. So that's one way you can make a spider. One thing you can also do is if you have a spare lanyard, like if you're going to camp and you have an extra lanyard laying around the house that you're not using, you can use that lanyard to put all of your swaps on. So you just take your swap and you can pin all of your swaps onto your lanyard. Some people pin their swaps onto a bucket hat. My daughters like to pin their swaps onto their vests. And like I said, sometimes they forget to take them off before they wash it. So this is one of my favorite swaps that you can make with pony beads. You just take a tan square of fun foam and a smaller, darker brown square of fun foam. I like to put 6 dots on my tan square to make it look more like a graham cracker. And then you put the pony bead in there for the marshmallow. So the next thing I'm going to share is one of my favorite things, and that is the marshmallow on a stick. Now, let me use the back of this paper so you can see my black pins. Most people are familiar with these bobby pins like this, or you can find these old-fashioned old lady. I'm not exactly sure what they're called, but I always think of the witch from the Bugs Bunny cartoon, because they always show those flying out of her hair whenever she gets scared or runs. So what I like to do is I'll put them through the bottom of my pin before I start. And then you just take that pin, and right where those zigzags are, those are really handy because it will hold it together for you. And you just twist, twist, twist right around those zigzags. And that will hold your pin together. And then you just take your glue and you take your pony bead. You put a little bit of glue right in that pony bead. Put my lid on quick before it comes out too much. And then I stick that right in there. And then I lay that on my tray to dry. So that's how you can make the marshmallow on a stick. Like I showed you before, I started making the marshmallows on a wooden stick. That was just something that I wanted to try and see how that would work. So the next one I want to show you real quick is a cute little bumblebee. And I really like this one. It starts out with just black and yellow pom-poms. And you just need 2 yellow and 1 black. And then you need some ribbon that's sort of see-through and sort of iridescent. So this is the ribbon I found at Walmart. So I'm going to actually, because I like to save my ribbons, I fold it in half and I cut a V in it so that you can see that it comes to a point on both sides. Now, this is a good example. I cut that V a long time ago, and you can see it sort of unraveled. So you can see like there's a line and then just fuzzies on the end. So if you run a bead of glue around the edge of your V, like over here, it won't unravel like that. But it's not necessary to do that. If you want to do that, you can. You don't have to do that. But what you're going to do to make your little bumblebee is you get your safety pin, and then you first put on your yellow, then you put on your black, and I try to go as close to the middle as I can, because if I just go through the sides, it can pull right off. And then I'm going to take my wings. These are going to be my wings, and I'm going to fold it over once, and then I'm going to flip back the edges so that I'm kind of zigzagging that ribbon. So can you see how that makes it pop out more in a wing shape? And then I put that zigzag right on the end of my pin. And then I put on my yellow. And then when you close it up and you shape it out, here is your little bumblebee. I usually use a little bigger safety pin than this little gold one. Or sometimes you can find the safety pins that are just have a loop around the bottom. They don't have that curly Q at the bottom. You can sometimes special order them. Sometimes you can find on your clothes, they'll have your clothes tag clipped on with those round shaped safety pins. I'll draw you a picture so you can see what it looks like, because I can't find what I did with it. I was sure I put it in that box with the things, but what it looks like is it looks like your normal head of your pin like this, but then your safety pin comes down like this, and then it makes this funky loop, and then it comes right back up into your safety pin. And you can find those and special order those online. Sometimes you can find a safety pin that just comes down like this and has the head on it. Sometimes you can find the safety pins that are shaped like that. This one here that somebody gave to me, you can see it has that sort of a shape. Those are called quilting safety pins. And the one side of the safety pin V's up and down, and this side of the safety pin is more flat. So those are a different kind of safety pin you can buy. So I'm going to share with you some of the other swaps that I have made in these kits. I have a bunch of kits that I have put together for my Girl Scouts. I just have my bag that I keep all of my kits in, and I put them together so that I'm ready to go whenever I have a thing. One thing I like to do for the bag rolls, some people showed the sleeping bag rolls. I like to use Ziploc ties to do those Ziploc ties. And then when I cut off those ends of the Ziploc ties, I use this side for the bow and arrow for the fuzzy cocktail toothpicks in the felt quiver. And this is the side I use for my bow and arrow, and this is the side I use for my sleeping bag roll. So another thing I like to do is the little Girl Scout in the sleeping bag. And this kit, I've got them, like I said, I like to put them in kits of 15 so that they're ready to go. This one has the tags in it. So one thing I found is you can get this fluffy yarn, and that works really good for hair. You can get the doll hair at the craft store. That's the actual hair they use to make dolls. But one thing I found that was really cute is this fringe. And I thought it would be really cute if I took my fringe and I cut it. I cut the fringe and I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I cut the fringe right like that. And then I cut the fringe. I made it round like a girl's head. And then that would fit on the end of my little girl. And then I would braid these 3 to give her pigtails. So that way you can get pigtails out of this fringe. And then if you were working with little daisies that didn't know how to make faces very easily, or you didn't want to pass out permanent markers, you could just take an emoji sticker and stick them right on your fringe, glue them right on top with the hair, and then you take the sleeping bag. I like to take my sleeping bag and I fold it over with some glue right there, and then I flip over the corner so you can see the girl sleeping in her sleeping bag. So that's how I like to make my swap kits, so that they're all ready to go. And if I'm taking a whole bunch of girls to camp in the back of my car, and some girl said, oh no, I forgot to bring my swaps, I can just give them one of these baggies. Here's the pom-pom, pet pom-pom instead of the pet rock. Here's one I already had ready to go with the colored eyeballs and some fuzzy pom-poms and some pins. Here's another one that, remember I said told you I saved the pop tabs. You could take your pop tabs and just stick googly eyes on it. That makes a really cute pom-pom swap. There's another time people will take yarn and they'll loop it through the pop tab, and then they'll glue Google Eyes onto it. That makes a really good swap. Here is the swaps you can make out of the bread tabs. You just glue the eyeballs on. But I thought these little Russian doll babushkas were kind of cute too. And those to me look like the pop tabs that maybe come from cat food tins or dog food tins. They're a little bit bigger pop tabs, but they just put a little wooden bead and some fabric around them. This is another one that I really love. Here's that Pez candy. So to me, that totally looks like a bar of soap. That is the one exception that I like to use food in my swaps, is to me that Pez candy totally looks like the bar of soap. But this is an alternative that I saw that I really wanted to try, that you just take your wooden bead and you fold up your little piece of terry cloth and it looks like you've got the towel wrapped around your head. The bugs are really fun. You can use jewelry wire with jewelry beads and fuzzy sticks to make spiders, kind of like the spider I showed you. Here's the Hermie worm one. You just take your chenille stem and you wrap it around your pencil and you glue on eyes and stick it on a fabric leaf. I really like the Medusa one. Like if you were doing Greek mythology, this is supposed to be Medusa. This one they just glued on a ladybug bead. Then this is very similar to one that we did for Jamaica. We did Jamaica for World Thinking Day one day, and we used black yarn in the brown beads, and then we took the chenille stem and swirled them up like a lollipop and used that as a hat to go on the head for the Jamaica Rastafarian guys. Oh, and this is one of my favorite ones to do with pom-poms. You can make minions, and you can make the purple minions. So there's another one of Juliet. I was going to show you how to make this swap banner. You just can cut out your letters and glue it on your felt. And what I have today to share, so I have this silver tube that was left over from one of my kids' broken toys or something. I don't even know what it's from anymore, but it was in my box of junk. But it's the perfect size to use for my swap banner. I'll just take, I have a piece of tan that I was going to use for the sleeve, and I'll run a bead of glue right there, and I'll glue my top of my banner on it, and then I'll measure it by putting my thing in here. I'll run another bead of glue so that that will be hanging like this. And then I have some of this nice ribbon that you use for balloons or presents. I can string that right through down the middle of my tube and make that in a loop to hang it with. And then I was going to cut out the swap letters, and I was going to show you if you can either draw the letter swaps on here, or if you want to make sure that they're going to fit like into your swaps thing, what you can do is cut your piece just a little bit smaller than what it is, and so you know what that's going to look like. And the letters of swaps actually are kind of the same width, so you can just take your fabric and fold it in fourths and then cut it in fourths. And now you know if you cut each of your letters just a tiny bit slimmer than what that is, then that will make the perfect size letters for your swaps banner. So your S, you can just go like this. And there's your S. It doesn't have to be perfect. And save these little pieces because there's the ear. for the little puppy dog. So I always put those in another container and save those. And then here's my W. So a W is the same side to side. It's a mirror image. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold my paper, my felt in half. And that way when I cut it, I only have to cut it once and I know it will be exactly matching from side to side. And the same thing for your A. Your A is matching side to side also. So all you have to do is go up here, cut out the side, cut out a little triangle from the top, and then cut it all the way from the top to the bottom for the legs. I think I want my little triangle to be a little taller than that, so I think I'll cut it again. Yeah, that looks a little better. There's my A. Now your P isn't the same side to side. It's more like your S, so you're going to have to cut that out one side at a time. So I'm going to cut the bottom, and then I'm going to round my corners like that. Now the inside I can fold over and cut. And that way I'll know the inside is the same. So I can cut it like that and then just make a horseshoe shape. And there's my P. And then you can make another S, or you can just make it a swap. I guess I do need another S. So then you just glue those on, have your banner up, and then you're ready to hang it up. So here's my other piece I can cut another S out of. Because some people, they like to keep their swaps on their hats. They like to keep their swaps on their vests. They like to keep it on a lanyard. But after so many years, your hat gets really full and your vest gets really full. And so sometimes it's nice to have something you could hang up in your room so you can keep your swap collection, all of your swaps, on your swap collection board. And then you can just have the special swaps that you really want to take with you and keep those on your hat. So that way you have room to have new swaps when you go to a new activity. So also one thing about swap etiquette, of course, everybody knows that, you know, you always need to be kind and be a Girl Scout sister. So you never want to refuse if somebody wants to share a swap with you. If you, maybe a little Daisy comes up to you and you're a senior and ambassador and they have something super simple and you worked really hard on your swap, don't, you know, take the attitude that, oh, well, that's not as nice as my swap, so I don't want to swap with you, because that's not the way to be a Girl Scout sister. You always want to be willing to swap. And you can make your letters, my letters are cut out a little crazy, so maybe if I place them a little crazy, it will look fun. But this was the thing I was going to do for my Google Eyes. I think I finally want to do this, and I want to take my two Google Eyes, and I want to put my Google Eyes on the top of my swaps. So that's how my swaps banner is going to look. I finally found a use for these gigantic Google Eyes. So when I get it all put together, that's how that'll look. So let's go ahead and sing our Silver and Gold Make New Friends song. Right over left, everybody. Make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other's gold. The circle is round, it has no end. That's how long I want to be your friend. Whee! All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. And check us out next month. We're going to have a jewelry class and a baking class, and we'll have lots of fun together again.